How vast is the universe? And could it stretch far beyond anything your imagination has ever reached? In the moment we look up at the sky, the stars whisper that we are only a tiny grain drifting in that endless ocean. Yet from that silence, the greatest question rises: how small are we? And how truly immense is the universe? This video opens a journey that may change the way you see the world. Leave a comment with your first thought, for perhaps you may reveal a hidden corner of the sky. And now, let us step into the question that has puzzled humanity for thousands of years. How large is the universe? What happens when we dare to ask a question that seems too big for the mind to hold? How large is the universe? What if that question is not about numbers or measurements at all, but about the shape of our own existence? Perhaps it's not space we are trying to measure, but the boundaries of our own perception. We are a way for the universe to know itself. Carl Sagan once said, and in that gentle sentence lies the reason why such a question matters more than we think. When we ask how large the universe is, we are really asking what it means to exist at all. Every galaxy swirling in the dark, every nebula blooming like a flower of light in the vacuum of space, every star being born and dying in silence across distances we may never cross, they are not separate from us. They are us, folded in time, stretched across the fabric of space. The atoms in your hand were once inside a star that burned long before the Earth had oceans. And so to ask how big the universe is to ask how far does my story reach? We live in a moment of illusion, the illusion of separation. Our eyes tell us we are here. The stars are there. The Earth is below us, and the galaxies far beyond. But our cells are the children of cosmic fire. Our breath carries atoms forged in ancient furnaces. Our blood is stirred by the same gravity that moves Saturn's rings. When the James Webb Space Telescope showed us the distant past in exquisite detail, it wasn't just looking outward, it was looking inward, into the mystery that birthed us, into the mirror of our own origin. We are not asking, how big is the universe, to compare it to something, for what could compare? We ask, because in knowing its scale, we come face to face with humility. And in that humility, a kind of peace begins to settle. The most beautiful thing we can experience is the mysterious, said Einstein. And mystery is what the cosmos offers in abundance. It is not a machine made of cold numbers, but a living ocean of light and silence, where meaning is not imposed, but discovered slowly like starlight reaching across time. To think of the universe is to be overwhelmed, not by fear but by wonder. When we say the observable universe is 93 billion light-years across, that light itself takes 8 minutes just to reach us from the sun, we begin to understand the scale not as something to master, but as something to surrender to. We begin to see that the galaxies are not out there. They are also in here, held in our ability to imagine them. What kind of creature can carry the whole Milky Way inside a moment of thought, if not one born from it? Astrophysicist Brian Cox once said, "We are the cosmos made conscious, and life is the means by which the universe understands itself." That is the crux of it, isn't it? The moment we ask about the size of the universe, we are enacting that consciousness, allowing the vast to echo within the small. In every question lies a reaching hand, and the universe somehow always reaches back. What moves me most is not just the scale of it all, but the intimacy that lives within that scale. The space between galaxies is measured in millions of light-years. But the space between a question and an insight is bridged in a heartbeat. What lives in that space is us, the storytellers of stars, the listeners of ancient light. What is the value of asking if we already know we'll never reach the edge? Perhaps because we are not seeking edges. We are seeking meaning. When I look at the night sky, it feels less like a map and more like a memory. A memory too large to be contained in the present, too quiet to be shouted, but too deep to be ignored. Somewhere in the silence between the stars, something ancient is watching, not with eyes, but with understanding. Could it be that in all our questions, we are remembering something the soul has always known? Eckhart Tolle reminds us, "You are not in the universe, you are the universe." What a radical idea to believe that your thoughts are not separate from galaxies, that your feelings are not less real than gravitational waves. The great illusion is not space, but isolation. And once that veil lifts, everything begins to shimmer with meaning. When people say that the universe doesn't care about us, I think they miss the point entirely. The universe is us caring through us, wondering through us, longing through us. Its awareness folds into human lives in the quiet moment of awe, in the tears we shed at the edge of beauty, in the stillness when words fall short. I believe that asking these questions is a kind of reverence, a prayer without a God, a song without a name. It is how we bow to the mystery, how we participate in its unfolding. We may never know how large the universe is, and maybe that's not the point. Maybe the point is that we care enough to wonder, and in that wonder lies our most human truth. So, when someone asks, "Why does it matter how big the universe is?" I smile, and I think of a child watching the stars for the first time. I think of that sudden stillness that lives between breath and question, that moment of awe before the answer arrives. That is why it matters. We are not here to solve the universe, but to experience it, to ask bold questions with trembling hearts. We are not its observers. We are its expressions, its poetry in motion. And as long as we wonder, the universe is not silent. Perhaps that is the greatest discovery of all, not in the data or the numbers, but in the quiet realization that we were never separate to begin with. The universe has always been here, not just around us, but as us. How big is Earth really? And have we spent too long underestimating this blue planet we call home? In an age when our eyes reach for distant galaxies and our minds dwell on cosmic immensity, perhaps it's time we look again at the very ground beneath our feet, with fresh eyes and deeper reverence. Neil Armstrong once said, "It suddenly struck me that that tiny pea, pretty and blue, was the Earth." I put up my thumb and shut one eye, and my thumb blotted out the planet Earth. I didn't feel like a giant. I felt very, very small. And yet, the Earth he blotted out was vast beyond belief. A world we barely comprehend in size, in complexity, in scale. We hear that Earth's diameter is just under 8,000 miles. We learn in school that its circumference is about 25,000 miles. But what does that truly mean to the heart, to the imagination, to the sense of being rooted in a living sphere hurtling through space. To drive around the Earth at 60 miles per hour would take over 17 days without pause. To fly around it in a commercial airliner, more than 48 hours of continuous flight. It has taken humanity thousands of years to walk, sail, fly, and orbit its surface. And even today, so many corners remain wild, mysterious, and untouched. We often forget just how immense this world is because we live small lives in local circles. Our neighborhoods, our cities, even our countries. They are just scratches on the surface of the globe that holds deserts the size of continents, forests like oceans, and oceans deeper than Mount Everest is tall. We exist within a fraction of its skin, rarely glimpsing the breadth of what lies beyond our daily paths. Part of the challenge lies in our brain's wiring. Cognitive scientists have long understood that the human mind struggles with large numbers. We can grasp 10, 100, maybe 1,000. But after that, our sense of scale falters. 1,000,000 becomes an abstraction. 1,000,000,000 becomes invisible. And the 196.9 million square miles of surface area that Earth boasts slips into a haze of digits and commas we no longer truly feel. As the late Carl Sagan famously reminded us, our planet is a lonely speck in the great enveloping cosmic dark. But that lonely speck is not small. Not to us. Not to life. Not to history. It is a cradle, a memory keeper, a stage vast enough to hold every battle, every poem, every birth and farewell that has ever been. And yet, because we compare it to the sun, to the solar system, to the galaxy and the universe, Earth begins to feel diminutive. But comparison, while useful, can also blind us to presence. The Earth is not small because the Milky Way is big. The Earth is whole, alive, vast, enough to disappear into for a lifetime, and still be a stranger to it. In truth, perhaps our problem is not that Earth is too small, but that our perspective is too narrow. A child standing by the sea may call the ocean small if they've only ever seen maps. A traveler may dismiss a forest from an off-it airplane window. But walk among the trees, sit by the waves, cross even a single desert, and the Earth unfolds like a sacred text written in mountains, rivers, and breath. We have machines that reach Mars, telescopes that pierce the edge of time, and yet we still get lost in our own cities, still marvel at mountain peaks, still wonder what lies beneath the ocean floor. That is the power of this planet. That is its hidden enormity. Consider this. If you were to walk without stopping, no rest, no sleep, it would take over 330 days to circle the Earth on foot along the equator. You would pass through ice and flame, jungle and desert, cities of light and silence of tundra. Who among us could see all of it in a single lifetime? Who could claim to know this planet in full? In that light, our own ignorance becomes humbling. Not shameful, but beautiful. A reminder that the journey of knowing is never done, and that perhaps the first step to understanding the cosmos is not to gaze outward, but inward, downward, homeward. Look again at that dot, said Sagan. That's home. That's us. When we forget how large Earth is, we forget how much it holds. We reduce it to convenience, to background, to something conquered or owned. But the earth is not ours to measure so easily. It is a living sphere of storms and silence, bursting with complexity we still barely touch. So perhaps it is time to stop saying Earth is small, and instead ask why we have so little time to honor its scale. Why we have learned to see with such hurried eyes. Why we glance but do not witness. From the sky's curvature at sea to the endless horizon of the Sahara, from the deep blue vastness of the Pacific to the haunting stillness of the Arctic shelf, Earth does not whisper smallness. It sings immensity, if only we listen. And, in a way, understanding Earth's size is not about miles or kilometers. It is about awe. It is about knowing that to be human is to stand upon a world so massive, so ancient, so generous, that it gave us life and never asked to be worshipped for it. From a personal point of view, every time I look at the night sky, I don't just wonder what's out there. I wonder what I've missed here. What cave remains unexplored? What creature lives in a forest I've never walked? What child plays in a village I'll never visit? And I feel small not because the earth is less than the stars, but because it is more than I can ever know. So the next time someone says it's just Earth, smile gently. Ask them to try driving it end to end. Ask them to trace its mountains with their fingers or follow a river from birth to sea. Ask them to count its languages, its hearts, its migrations, its dreams. And ask yourself this: if we still cannot grasp the true scale of our own world, how can we ever hope to understand the universe beyond it? If you found something meaningful in these thoughts, consider subscribing for more journeys into space and soul. And if you've ever felt the earth speak to you in silence, share your experience in the comments below. Let's wonder together, and never stop counting stars or steps on our own planet. How far is the moon really from the earth? And have we been quietly misled all along by the comforting nearness of illustrations? In classrooms and textbooks, the moon often hovers just above the Earth's shoulder, a soft glow beside our blue world, visible in the same frame. But what if that picture isn't just an innocent simplification, but a distortion so vast that it changes our understanding of space itself? Neil deGrasse Tyson once said, "The good thing about science is that it's true, whether or not you believe in it." And the truth is this: the moon is not hovering just beyond our clouds. It's drifting far away in a cosmic silence that humbles the human scale. 238,855 miles separate us from our lunar companion, a distance that would take 6 full months to cover by car if you drove non-stop at highway speeds. No sleep, no stops, no hesitation. Just a steady journey across an invisible bridge of nothingness between two celestial bodies. The very fact that it takes 6 months of continuous motion to reach the moon from Earth unveils a truth we rarely sit with: that space is overwhelmingly empty. This isn't just about numbers. It's about feeling the scale in your bones. Think of how we cross countries in hours by plane, fly across oceans in a single night. But to reach the moon, our nearest neighbor, takes half a year by the wheels that carry us daily to work and home. That simple comparison unravels the illusion that outer space is merely an upward extension of our atmosphere. Carl Sagan reminded us that we live on a mote of dust suspended in a sunbeam. Yet even within that dust mote, the emptiness between Earth and moon is staggering. The moon is close enough to influence tides, to inspire poetry, to carry our dreams of exploration and yet so far away that it sits in a realm we cannot reach without fire and mathematics. The distance is not only spatial, it's emotional. It reminds us of how tiny we are, and how extraordinary our leap to it in 1969 truly was. Imagine the moon in its true position, not nestled beside the Earth in a neat diagram, but floating far away across a vast void so great that you could line up every planet in the solar system between them and still have space to spare. That's how distant it is. And that's how misrepresented it often becomes in educational art and scientific visualizations. Of course, there are practical reasons for these inaccuracies. A page can't contain the real scale of the cosmos. A video screen can't show distances that challenge the very limits of human comprehension. But perhaps we've grown too used to those distortions. The simplification becomes the reality. And in that shift, we lose the awe that should rightfully accompany the moon's orbit. As Brian Cox has noted, the universe is not required to be in perfect harmony with human ambition. And perhaps the moon's distance is one such reality we must confront anew, not as a number, but as a philosophical truth about space itself. What does it mean that the moon feels close, yet is so far? It means that space is not an extension of Earth, it is a different domain altogether. A sea without air. A silence so complete it has no analogue in our terrestrial experience. And every journey beyond Earth must reckon with that scale, that isolation, that confrontation with emptiness. There's a kind of sacred solitude between Earth and Moon, a void that once terrified our ancestors but now stirs curiosity. The fact that 12 humans crossed that gulf and walked on the Moon is not just a feat of engineering. It is a testament to our willingness to reach across the unknown. It reveals a hunger in us to touch the impossible and a humility in realizing how far it truly is. When we teach children that the moon is just up there, a white circle in the sky, beside a blue sphere, we risk dulling their sense of wonder. But when we show them the truth that even our nearest neighbor floats far enough to make a car engine run 6 months straight, we invite them to imagine a cosmos where scale matters, where silence is spacious, and closeness is relative. The moon is a mirror not just of sunlight but of perspective. It reflects how we understand distance, ambition, and our own limits. It asks us to be honest about how far we've come and how far we have yet to go. For while the moon is far, it is only the beginning. Beyond it lie Mars, Jupiter, and then the stars, each farther, lonelier, more mysterious. In that light, this simple question, how far is the moon, becomes a meditation on all space. It teaches us that the universe doesn't scale itself to our convenience, and that meaning doesn't shrink with distance. Instead, distance deepens meaning, the way shadows deepen the brightness of light. I believe that if we restore the true distance of the moon in our minds, we restore something else too, a sense of reverence for the cosmos, a recognition that we are not meant to comprehend all of it at once. That space is not just up, it is away, in a direction that bends both logic and wonder. So let's not simplify too soon. Let's not shrink the moon to fit our screens or our comfort zones. Let it stay vast, distant, honest. Let it remind us that truth in science isn't about what fits, it's about what is. As we reflect on this lunar gap, 6 months of driving across emptiness, I invite you to pause and share your thoughts below. Have you ever imagined the moon as truly distant? Or did this change your perspective? Like and subscribe if you believe the universe still has more to reveal. because this journey is only beginning. After all, if the moon is this far away, how much farther is Mars? And how large must the entire universe be? Underneath the quiet hum of our lives, beneath the pale blue sky that cradles our every breath, a question as old as wonder itself still lingers in the shadows of our thoughts. How large is the solar system? Not in textbook units or sterile statistics, but in the staggering reality of scale that defies our senses. In the aching silence between planets, where light takes hours to travel and gravity whispers over billions of miles. As Carl Sagan once said, somewhere, something incredible is waiting to be known. Begin at Earth, our only home, lush and defiant amidst the void, a grain of warmth in a cold sea of darkness. It spins beneath our feet, vast in our human terms, yet humbling when compared to the behemoths that share our sky. The Earth is not small to us. To circle it at 60 miles per hour would take 17 full days without pause. Yet when placed next to Jupiter, our planet is barely a shadow, and when placed beside the Sun, it becomes invisible. The Sun, the silent king of our system, contains within it the unimaginable capacity to hold over 1 million Earths. 1 million blue spheres of forests and oceans could vanish inside the solar furnace that rises each morning without fail. This is no poetic exaggeration. It is a measured truth, one that dwarfs not just our world but our pride, our achievements, our sense of dominion over the cosmos. The ancient philosopher Anaxagoras once mused that the Sun was a fiery rock larger than the Peloponnese, and for that insight he was exiled. But today we know he was right, and even he may have underestimated its grandeur. Yet even more humbling than size is distance, for while the Sun is large enough to swallow our hopes, it is far enough to keep them alive. 93 million miles separate us from its blinding light, a number that sounds abstract until you try to live it. If you were to drive in a straight line to the Sun at a steady pace of 60 miles per hour, without stopping for food or rest or sleep, it would take you over 177 years to arrive. A lifetime spent on a road that never ends. In a commercial airplane, it would still take 19 years, an entire generation spent in transit between two celestial spheres. And yet the Sun is near terrifyingly near when we compare it to the full spread of the solar system. For the planets do not huddle close like siblings around a fire. They drift vast and silent across a plain that stretches for billions of miles. Mercury dances just 36 million miles from the Sun, while Neptune spins at a staggering distance of nearly 2.8 billion miles, and even that does not mark the end. Let us imagine now, as educators often do, a model to grasp the impossible. A shrinking of the cosmos into something the size of a football field. On this scale, the mighty Sun is no longer a blazing inferno but a sphere just over an inch wide sitting patiently on the goal line. Earth becomes a grain smaller than a poppy seed placed 3 yards away. Mars is 5 yards out. Jupiter at about 15. Neptune all the way at the opposite end of the field, and Pluto, if we still grant it planet status, hovers near the farthest bleachers. Between them emptiness, not dotted with stars or color, but a vacuum so vast you could hide all human history in the space between ticks of a clock. It is in this silence that I often think of the words of astrophysicist Brian Cox: the cosmos is within us. We're made of star stuff. We are a way for the universe to know itself. There is something breathtakingly beautiful in realizing that these immense numbers are not abstractions of cold math. but the true dimensions of the place that birthed us. And yet even Voyager 1, the farthest object humankind has ever flung into space, has not even scratched the edge of this arena. After traveling for more than 4 decades at 38,000 miles per hour, it has only just breached the borders defined by the heliosphere. To reach the outermost shell, the Oort cloud would take thousands of years more, even at that breakneck pace. If anything, the solar system does not feel like a system at all, but like a frozen ocean of isolated giants, each wandering through the dark on its own invisible tide. Planets so distant they seem like myths, distances so wide they mock our ambition, and yet we dream, and that is enough. From a personal point of view, what astonishes me most is not just the size of the Sun or the distance to Neptune, but the quiet arrogance with which we assume we've begun to understand it. We make scale models and clever animations and they help. Yes, but they are shadows on the wall compared to the fire that dances in reality. If this solar system, our home, is already too vast to fully imagine, what then of our galaxy, or the universe beyond? Perhaps the lesson is this: humility is not a weakness, it is wisdom, and when faced with the infinite, awe is the most rational response. So I ask you, when was the last time you allowed yourself to feel small? Not in shame, but in reverence. The solar system invites that feeling every time we look up, and perhaps that is its greatest gift. A reminder that the vastness of space is not just about light years or orbit paths, but about expanding the boundaries of what we think is possible. And maybe, just maybe, that space between planets is not empty at all, but filled with questions waiting for a mind like yours to wonder. If this reflection sparked something in you, a moment of wonder, a sense of awe, let it grow, and share it in the comments below. Like this video if it helped you see the solar system in a new light, and subscribe for more journeys beyond the familiar. The stars do not rush, and neither should we, for there is so much more to explore. Where does the solar system truly end? Is it at Neptune's distant orbit, a cold sentinel circling the Sun in perfect silence? Or is it Pluto's path, eccentric and mysterious, marking the last breath of the planetary order we were taught in school? Or does the boundary stretch further still, into the vast heliopause where the Sun's breath fades into the void? Or perhaps beyond all that, into the mythic reaches of the Oort cloud, a frozen halo of ancient remnants, cradling our system like a forgotten dream wrapped in darkness? Astronomer Jonathan McDowell once remarked, "There's no hard edge to the solar system, it just peters out." And in that fading boundary lies one of the most poetic puzzles in modern astronomy. A reminder that even in science, the line between definitions and mystery is often blurred. We crave borders, edges, limits, because they help us understand, define, and navigate our place in the universe. But when it comes to the solar system, every time we draw a line, it begins to dissolve the closer we look. Neptune orbits at 30 astronomical units. Pluto dances erratically between 29 and 49, while the heliopause, the edge of the Sun's protective bubble, lies nearly 120 AU away, where Voyager 1 finally stepped into interstellar space in 2012. But the Oort cloud, if it truly exists as theorized, begins perhaps 2,000 AU from the Sun and may extend as far as 100,000 AU, a shimmering ghost of creation hiding in the dark. This means that depending on where we choose to define the boundary, the size of our solar system can change by a factor of 3,000. That is not just a matter of scale, but of meaning. When light, the fastest thing in the known universe, takes just 4 hours to travel from the Sun to Neptune, but over a year and a half to reach the edge of the Oort cloud. It suggests that the outer solar system isn't a place we simply arrive at. It's a dimension of time itself. Carl Sagan once wrote, "Somewhere, something incredible is waiting to be known." Perhaps that something lies beyond even the Oort cloud, in regions where the gravity of our sun weakens but still whispers through the cold fabric of space. The heliopause, where the solar wind surrenders to the interstellar medium, is not a wall but a blur, a cosmic breath slowly exhaling into the unknown. Voyager 1 crossed this veil, traveling at nearly 17 kilometers per second. Its instruments recording the sudden shift in particle density as it pierced the Sun's final frontier. But even that event, heralded as our first step into interstellar space, is only one answer to the question of where we end and the galaxy begins. The Oort cloud tells a different story, or rather whispers it through the aphelion arcs of long-period comets that sometimes fall inward toward the warmth of the Sun after millions of years in darkness. These icy travelers, perhaps as old as the solar system itself, come from a realm we cannot yet see. A spherical shell of ancient matter, possibly populated by trillions of frozen relics scattered across light years of emptiness. Dutch astronomer Jan Oort proposed its existence in 1950 to explain the mysterious origin of comets that do not belong to the Kuiper belt or any known region closer in. We have never directly observed the Oort cloud, only inferred it from the behavior of those long-haul cosmic messengers whose orbits hint at a kingdom far beyond Neptune's realm. This disparity in definitions is not a flaw of astronomy but a mirror of the universe itself. Vast, layered, and always defying simplicity. If Neptune is a wall, then the heliopause is a curtain, and the Oort cloud is a dream, and perhaps we need all three metaphors to glimpse the fullness of truth. Brian Greene once said, "The fabric of the cosmos is not what it seems." And so it is with the edges of our solar home. The more we search for its outer boundary, the more it recedes like the horizon on a rising road never fixed, always unfolding. There is humility in this realization. Just as Earth does not sit at the center of all things, so too does our solar system not end in any final line or landmark. It fades into the galaxy like morning mist dissolving into the sea. To define where the solar system ends is to ask where influence gives way to silence, where light becomes lost in distance, and where memory of origin still clings to frozen stones adrift for eons. It is to ask, where does the self stop and the other begin? In that sense, the boundary of the solar system is more than just an astronomical puzzle. It is a meditation on existence. Are we confined by gravitational reach, by solar wind, by dust and debris? Or do we belong to all that our sun once touched and shaped, even at the edge of nothingness? Voyager 1 now drifts through that silence, still listening, still speaking with its pulse of data. In its quiet path we see a mirror of ourselves reaching outward, uncertain, but still moving, still wondering. Perhaps there is no single answer to the question, only perspectives that each illuminate one aspect of a larger truth. Like shells within shells, the solar system may be best understood not as a place but as a series of thresholds, each one revealing a new layer of relationship between us and the cosmos. We began with a need to draw a border, to say here is where the solar system ends. But we end with the realization that such borders are illusions, The solar system does not end, it fades. Like the twilight of a sunset that does not finish but simply becomes night. And in that gentle vanishing point lies the poetry of astronomy, not in what we measure, but in what we feel as we stare into the endless dark and recognize that somewhere out there, just beyond the reach of sunlight, is still a part of home. How far is far enough to make even light feel slow? How fast must something be to still fail at catching up with the vastness of the cosmos? When we hear that light travels at 186,000 miles per second, it feels nearly divine. A beam of light could circle the Earth more than 7 times in a single second. And yet, when it comes to the universe, that blazing speed becomes painfully inadequate. The universe is not only stranger than we imagine, said JBS Haldane. It is stranger than we can imagine. And perhaps nothing captures this better than the reason we need a unit like the light year just to make sense of what lies beyond our sky. To measure the Earth, we use kilometers or miles. To speak of oceans or continents, we stretch those units into thousands. But when we begin speaking of space, those same measurements crumble under the weight of distance. They are too small, too trivial. The moment we pass our moon, the moment Earth's gravity yields to the sun's embrace, we are no longer in a world of miles. We are in the domain of light and time. A light year is the distance that light travels in 1 year, about 6 trillion miles. It's a number so vast that our minds struggle to hold it for even a second. Yet we must, because nothing less can carry the truth of how far the stars lie. Einstein once wrote, "The distinction between past, present and future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion." But in astronomy, distance is time. When we look at a star 10 light years away, we see it not as it is now, but as it was 10 years ago. Our entire understanding of the cosmos is a vision through memory, a tapestry stitched from the light that traveled across time to reach our eyes. Consider this: light from the sun takes about 8 minutes to reach Earth. That means every sunrise we witness is a delayed message from the past. The moon is closer, only about 1.3 light seconds away. Voyager 1, our most distant probe, is now over 22 light hours from Earth, and still it floats within a mere whisper of our galactic neighborhood. Proxima Centauri, the nearest star system beyond our Sun, lies 4.24 light-years away. That's 25 trillion miles, a number so large it becomes meaningless unless anchored in the motion of light itself. But even light, with its divine swiftness, falters when we try to grasp the scale of the universe. The size and age of the cosmos are beyond ordinary human understanding, Carl Sagan said. Lost somewhere between immensity and eternity is our tiny planetary home. We build metaphors to help us bridge the void, models and comparisons to bring the unreachable closer to our minds. And yet they all fall short. Even using light years, we're merely scratching the surface. Let us try, for a moment, to follow light on a journey. Imagine it leaving Earth now, passing the moon in just over a second, gliding past Mars in a few minutes, reaching Jupiter in about 43 minutes, and clearing Neptune after 4 hours. Within that time, the light has already left the solar system as we know it, passing beyond Pluto, slicing through the dark toward the Oort cloud, the distant halo of icy remnants that surrounds our system like an ancient ghostly sphere. And beyond that lies the realm of interstellar space. The gap between stars is no mere stroll. It is an abyss where light itself must journey for years just to shake another hand. We imagine the stars as scattered close across the sky. But that is illusion. If the solar system were the size of a coin, the nearest star would be a quarter-mile away. And between them, nothing. Silence. Darkness. Dust. That is why we must use light years, because they match the scale of the void. They are not just distances, they are echoes, time capsules, messages written in photons that began their journey before our grandparents were born. The Andromeda galaxy is 2.5 million light-years away, which means every image we have of it is older than all recorded human history. A living fossil painted in light. Yet the cosmos doesn't stop there. Beyond Andromeda lie the clusters, the superclusters, the webbed filaments of the cosmic structure that span hundreds of millions of light years. Each one a monument to space and time entwined. When we speak of the observable universe being 93 billion light years across, what we're truly saying is that the light reaching us now has traveled for 13.8 billion years, and that due to the expansion of space. Its origin is now vastly farther than the years would suggest. Here lies a quiet wonder, and a haunting paradox. The faster light moves, the more we realize how far we truly are from everything else. It does not bring things closer. It makes the scale more honest. In trying to chase the stars with photons, we have revealed just how empty and ancient the night truly is. The light year becomes not just a measurement, but a mirror reflecting our yearning for connection across a chasm that cannot be crossed in a lifetime. We must pause here, in this stillness of thought, and ask, what does it mean to live in a world where even light struggles to keep up? Perhaps it reminds us that our place in the cosmos is not about reaching everything, but about receiving what comes to us slowly, gracefully, like the light from a distant star that knew our name before we were born. So let the light year not overwhelm you, but humble you. Let it make you feel small in the most meaningful way, not insignificant, but sacred. For every year a photon travels is a story of creation, of persistence, of silent beauty across the black fabric of the unknown. As you listen to this, as your eyes dance over these words or images, light is still moving, crossing frozen distances, painting galaxies on the walls of our perception. And you are part of that process, an observer, a co-creator. We are not in the universe, said Eckhart Tolle. We are the universe becoming conscious of itself. So ask yourself not just how fast light is, but how much patience it takes to become seen, and how much wonder lives in the waiting. For in every light year measured, in every impossible distance crossed, lies the promise that even the oldest starlight will one day find its way to you. How far have we truly gone? And how small are we in the face of the cosmos we dream of reaching? If we left Earth today at our fastest speed known to man, how long would it take before we arrived at the doorstep of another star? 73,000 years. Not to a distant galaxy, not even to the far rim of the Milky Way, but merely to the closest known star next door, Proxima Centauri. A blink on cosmic timescales, perhaps, but for us an eternity stretching beyond our recorded history. And, yet, this number is not meant to discourage, but to illuminate just how much we have yet to do. Carl Sagan once said, Exploration is in our nature. We began as wanderers, and we are wanderers still. But even as wanderers, we have barely crossed the street of our galactic neighborhood. Our most daring emissary to the stars, Voyager 1, was launched in 1977 and has been traveling ever since, at an incredible velocity of 38,000 miles per hour. After more than 4 decades of silent journeying through interplanetary space, it has just recently stepped into what we call interstellar space, and yet Proxima still lies 1,000-fold farther ahead. Voyager's signal grows fainter each year. Its golden record now a timeless message in a bottle adrift on a cosmic tide we do not yet know how to follow. And so we must ask, what does this say about us? That, even at our greatest speed, the vastness of even the nearby cosmos remains nearly unreachable within a single lifetime. Michio Kaku once remarked that the dinosaurs didn't have a space program, and that's why they're not here today. It is a sobering thought wrapped in a call to action. A whisper from the future reminding us that stagnation in space is stagnation in destiny. Still, for all our telescopes and triumphs, for all our satellites and sensors, we remain profoundly earthbound, tied not just by gravity, but by the limits of technology and imagination. The universe beckons us with its ancient light. Yet each attempt to reach for it feels like stretching fingers in a dream always out of grasp. There is poetry in our predicament, a kind of noble ache in knowing that we stand on the edge of oceans we cannot yet sail. The question then is not only why haven't we gone farther, but what does our distance from the stars tell us about ourselves? Is it a measure of our technological infancy, or a mirror showing how much we have yet to believe in our potential? There are no roads in space, only intentions, only trajectories drawn by patience and vision. Voyager reminds us of this with every second it speeds into darkness, not as a failure, but as the bold first heartbeat of a species still learning how to walk among the stars. One day, perhaps centuries or millennia from now, a new generation may look back at Voyager as we now look at cave paintings, a mark of awareness before true awakening. They may smile at how long it once took to travel even a few light hours from Earth, and marvel at how distance once held us captive. But until then, we must understand our limitations not as a cage, but as a cradle, a place from which we rise with fragile hope. Because every step into space is also a step inward, toward understanding who we are and what we value. In reaching outward, we confront the solitude of intelligence in a vast and indifferent sea and choose meaning anyway. It is not speed alone that will take us farther, but the will to imagine and to endure. Neil deGrasse Tyson put it plainly. Not only are we in the universe is in us. And that means the stars we long to reach have always lived within us. Not just in atoms forged in ancient supernovae, but in dreams that refuse to be contained by gravity or time. Perhaps that's why our technology feels so small, not because it is weak, but because our hunger for the beyond is so vast. The slowness of our ships is a shadow cast by the speed of our wonder. And so we try probe after probe, signal after signal, as if whispering across eons, hoping someone or something whispers back. But what if the answer is not out there waiting to be heard, but in the silence itself, the long road itself, the choice to send a ship even when the stars seem too far? The journey may take millennia. The stars may not see us coming, but we will have gone anyway. And that is a kind of triumph no distance can diminish. How far is far when you're already in the middle of nowhere? If you stepped outside tonight and looked up at the sky in wonder, Could you point in the direction of our nearest stellar neighbor? Not the moon or the sun, not even the farthest planet in our solar system, but the first star system beyond our own Proxima Centauri, a faint red dot, some 4.24 light-years away. At first glance, it may seem like a modest distance in cosmic terms, but place it in context and it becomes unfathomable. Carl Sagan once said, "The universe is not required to be in perfect harmony with human ambition." And here lies one of the finest illustrations of that truth. If our entire solar system were shrunk to the size of a single quarter lying flat on the ground, then Proxima Centauri would be a lonely pebble, some 350 feet away, separated not just by space, but by a silence that light itself takes over 4 years to cross. No roads connect us, no bridges span the void, only emptiness, and the thin hope carried by radio whispers and dreams of propulsion yet to be invented. In that vacuum of distance lie the 50 or so known star systems within a radius of 16 light-years from Earth. Our interstellar neighborhood, modest in radius, but rich in mystery. Most of these stars are red dwarfs, cool, dim stars too faint for the naked eye to see even on the clearest night. And yet they surround us, an invisible garden of suns suspended in the dark, each with its own story, its own possible worlds. Neil deGrasse Tyson reminds us, not only are we in the universe is in us. And in that reflection lies the truth of starlight itself. It belongs to all of us. But if they're so close, why can't we see them? It's not only the limit of our eyes but the nature of those stars themselves. Their light is not strong enough to paint itself upon the canvas of our night sky. Our ancestors looked up and named the brightest ones, drawing gods and beasts and legends among them. But they never knew the quiet multitude that waited just behind the darkness. Imagine looking at a dense forest from far away and seeing only the tallest trees, while the younger ones remain hidden in shadow. That is how the universe first appears to us. As technology unfolds and telescopes grow wiser than the eye, we begin to detect these faint companions. Systems like Barnard's star, Wolf 359, Lalande 21185, each name a cold whisper in the star catalogue. And with each detection comes another question: could life exist there? Could those stars cradle planets, oceans, memories? We now know that planets are not rare ornaments, but common byproducts of stellar formation, and so this nearby sea of stars may hold more Earths than we dare to imagine. Still, the scale remains humbling. Light may take 4 years to reach Proxima Centauri, but our fastest spacecraft, Voyager 1, would take over 70,000 years to get there. At 38,000 miles per hour, it crawls like a dust mote on a cathedral floor, while the walls around it stretch to infinity. To send a message would be one thing, but to travel ourselves to stand on a world orbiting another sun, that is another dream entirely. So why does it matter? Why speak of distance when we're grounded so firmly to this one small planet? Because in speaking of the stars, we speak of possibility, and in contemplating the vastness between us and them, we recognize the grandeur of the thing we're part of. It humbles the ego, stretches the soul, and breaks open the illusion of separateness. We are not outside looking in. We are part of the same pattern, written in hydrogen and gravity and time. The neighborhood of 50 light-years around Earth may seem small compared to galaxies, but it contains multitudes. a few thousand stars, dozens of confirmed exoplanets, and perhaps countless others yet unnamed. This is our stellar suburb, quiet and dim, but pregnant with the unknown. Like staring into the mist from a mountaintop, you can't see far, but you know there's more beyond. If you could travel there star to star, what would you find? Would you discover ancient civilizations basking in different suns? Or only cold rock and frozen silence? It's the not knowing that compels us. The ache for connection. The old longing to not be alone in the great black sea. Somewhere, something incredible is waiting to be known, said Carl Sagan. And perhaps it waits just past that invisible line where Proxima Centauri burns faintly in the southern sky. So tonight, when you look up and see nothing but darkness between the stars, remember there are many more lights than eyes can see. Hidden companions circle their suns in silence, waiting to be discovered. They are close enough to dream about, far enough to make us humble. And maybe that's the true gift of knowing how far away the nearest stars really are. Not just knowledge, but perspective. A quarter on the ground, a pebble 350 feet away, and between them the mystery of light years. We may not reach them in our lifetime, but we can imagine. And imagining is how every journey begins. What does it truly mean when we say the Milky Way contains over 100 billion stars? Can our minds even begin to hold such a number? Or is it like trying to capture the wind in our hands, fleeting, vast, and always just beyond grasp? This is not merely about astronomy or data points scattered across a flow chart. It's about understanding the cathedral of space we exist within. A dimension so immense that each fact becomes poetry, each figure a meditation on existence itself. Carl Sagan once said, "Somewhere, something incredible is waiting to be known." In those words lies the quiet pulse of every question we've ever asked about the cosmos. The Milky Way, our home galaxy, is not just a spiral of stars hanging silently in the dark. It is a vast river of light, stretching 120,000 light-years across, turning slowly over hundreds of millions of years like a colossal wheel of fire. If you could somehow fly at the speed of light from one end of this galaxy to the other, you would still need more than a human lifetime to complete the journey. And that's only our backyard. To say 100 billion stars is like saying 100 billion heartbeats. Each one a sun to some unknown world. Each one possibly accompanied by planets with oceans and winds and stories of their own. But how do we hold billion in the mind? Most cannot, and perhaps should not. A billion seconds is over 31 years. A billion steps would take you around the Earth 15 times. A billion stars light up the sky of our galaxy. Try to imagine them now not as a number, but as a field of fireflies stretching beyond sight in every direction. And yet even that sea of stars is not alone. 2.5 million light-years away drifts Andromeda, a galaxy like ours, only slightly larger and slowly dancing toward us in a cosmic embrace that will take billions of years to complete. That distance, 2.5 million light-years, is not a metaphor. It is real. It is measureless by our mundane standards. Light, the fastest thing in the universe, takes 2.5 million years to bridge the gap between our stars and theirs. When that light began its journey, human ancestors were not yet walking upright. Between us and Andromeda lie other galaxies. Thousands of them clustered into what astronomers call the Virgo supercluster. This is not a poetic name, though it should be. It is a map designation for a structure of galaxies so vast that even our imagination begins to erode under its weight. Within the Virgo supercluster lie tens of thousands of galaxies like our own, each one with its own swarm of suns, each sun with its retinue of planets, and each planet a potential stage for some unknown drama of life and time. Brian Greene writes, "We are not at the center of the universe. We are not even at the center of anything." That humility is perhaps the most profound gift astronomy can offer. For when we continue to zoom out from the Virgo supercluster, we begin to perceive the cosmic web filaments of galaxies stretching like luminous tendrils across space, and at the farthest edge of our seeing, the faint glow of the cosmic microwave background. The observable universe, everything we can see or detect, measures approximately 93 billion light-years in diameter. Let that settle in. 93 billion light-years. This is the portion of the universe from which light has had time to reach us since the beginning of the cosmos. But what lies beyond that wall of light? What exists in the darkness where no photons have arrived? Many scientists believe the actual universe is far larger than the observable one, perhaps at least 250 times larger, maybe even infinite. If true, it means everything we have ever known, every star, every planet, every galaxy and every wonder is but a single drop in an endless ocean of possibility. Imagine now that our entire observable universe, all 93 billion light-years of it, was reduced to the size of a grain of sand. Then what would the rest of the universe be? A mountain, a planet, or perhaps something so vast it escapes all metaphor. We cannot know for certain, not yet, but the suspicion alone is enough to shake the soul awake. Neil deGrasse Tyson often reminds us that the universe is under no obligation to make sense to you. And yet it speaks in whispers to those who listen, in patterns to those who look closely, in awe to those who allow themselves to feel small. The more we learn about galaxies and superclusters, and what lies beyond the cosmic horizon, the more we are drawn into a deeper understanding not just of the cosmos but of ourselves. Each number we encounter: 100 billion stars, 2.5 million light-years, 93 billion light-years, 250 times the observable is not just a number. It is a window into mystery, an invitation to contemplate not just the mechanics of space, but its meaning. So when we ask how large is the universe, we are not seeking an answer that fits in a box or a chart. We are seeking the edge of our knowing, the boundary of our imagination, and perhaps the echo of something greater than ourselves. Because in the end, standing beneath the stars, with galaxies wheeling above and the unknown stretching forever outward, we are reminded that knowledge is not the final destination, but the beginning of reverence, of wonder, of humility. And that is why we keep looking up, not to conquer the cosmos, but to remember that we are part of it, inseparable and eternal. What if the universe is not something outside us, but something unfolding within us? What if our lives, fragile and fleeting as they may seem, are not random sparks lost in the cosmic dark, but precise notes in a symphony we barely hear? You are not in the universe. Eckhart Tolle once wrote, "You are the first universe, an intrinsic part of it." The words linger like stardust in the silence of space, reminding us that behind every breath we take is the breath of a star long gone. We live on a pale blue dot. Carl Sagan reminded us, suspended in a sunbeam. Yet even as we drift through darkness, we hold within us the fire of ancient suns. Every atom in our bones was forged in the heart of a collapsing star, scattered into the cosmos through stellar death and rebirth, carried through time and dust until it found shape in us. We are made of star stuff, Sagan whispered to generations to come. And this is not poetry, it is physics. Yet knowing this, how strange it is that we still pretend we know everything. We draw borders on maps and speak with certainty about what is right or true or permanent, as if the vastness above us does not laugh gently at our illusions of control. But the more we gaze outward, the more we begin to realize how little we truly understand. And maybe that's the point, perhaps not knowing is a kind of wisdom too. Neil deGrasse Tyson once said, "We are connected to each other biologically, to the earth chemically, to the rest of the universe atomically." And when you sit with that thought long enough, something in your chest shifts, like a tide drawn to a deeper gravity. It is a humbling truth, and also an empowering one, for it tells us that even in our seeming insignificance, we belong completely. So why do we resist the flow of life, clinging so tightly to outcomes and control, when the very atoms of our being were born of surrender? A supernova does not resist its collapse. It becomes light through letting go, and in doing so, it seeds the next generation of stars, of planets, of people. If we understood how wide the universe is, perhaps we would live softer lives, not smaller lives, but ones aligned with the rhythm of everything that came before us. There is beauty in knowing that we are not the center of the cosmos, and also beauty in knowing that we are part of its conscious unfolding. Like cells in a vast body, we move with the pulse of something far greater than ourselves, something we might call mystery, or intelligence, or God. The language doesn't matter. What matters is the invitation to live as though we are in conversation with the cosmos, rather than shouting into its silence. And in this vast unfolding we find not despair, but connection. Because if we are made of the same elements as the stars, then we are also made of the same light as one another. What hurts one echoes through all. The violence we do to others, we do to the galaxy inside ourselves. The kindness we give sends ripples into the farthest dust rings of space. So let the truth of our smallness be not a cause for fear, but a path to awe. For in recognizing our place within the whole, we are no longer lost. We are home. A human life is short. Yes, but that makes it no less sacred. And if you were born of stars, perhaps your only task is to shine in your own way. As Alan Watts said, you are an aperture through which the universe is exploring itself. Let that idea sink in, not just into your mind, but into your day, your choices, your gaze at the sky tonight. You are not just looking at the stars. You are part of the process that makes stars visible to themselves. The next time something doesn't go your way, when life bends in a direction you did not expect, remember that even galaxies collide, and from the chaos, new shapes emerge. Perhaps going with the flow is not weakness, but trust. The same trust that fire gives to wind, that planets give to gravity. Maybe we were never meant to control it all. Maybe the deepest wisdom is knowing how to dance with it instead. We are brief flickers, yes, but we are flickers of something eternal. not in time, but in belonging. And so the question remains, what does the universe teach us about being human? That to be small is not to be unimportant. That to be temporary is not to be meaningless. That within the dust of our bones there is memory of nebulae, and within the breath we exhale there is echo of first light. The universe teaches us humility, teaches us surrender, teaches us connection. But above all, it teaches us to open, to let in wonder, to live with reverence for the fragile miracle that is this moment. You were never separate. You were never alone. You are the cosmos dreaming in human form, and even the stars wait quietly to see what you will become next.